becoming more impactful, but because it is enabling translators to become more productive. They don't have to translate the mundane over and over. They only have to work on translating the more creative aspects of things. Again, more slides to preach to the choir why uh, localization and translation is important, because you want to reach your customers, your stakeholders, and your partners in the language that they are comfortable with, they love. For example, I speak English, but if you show something in a language that is my native language, I'm going to be more interested and enthusiastic about reading what's out there, even though I'm very comfortable with English. The other thing about machine translation and in localization is now it has been sort of acceptable fact that MTPE is the way to enhance and improve quality, because without MTPE you end up starting from translation memories and blank slates, and with MT you don't ever start with a blank slate, and the time and cost to edit a translation is usually much lower than starting from scratch or editing a translation memory matched translated output. So we have a humongous opportunity, at least this is what AWS sees, a humongous opportunity to provide a solution where you can have machine translation, but also have other AWS services to provide a person in the loop to edit the translation. And many of our customers are interested in this because it helps them build an IP over time. They make translation, they make edits. Those edits are actually of high value. And how do you use those edits to enhance the next translation job? That is what I'm going to show here in this presentation. So here again, I'm talking about the value of the localization market and how we in the localization market build IP. One of the best ways we build IP is maintaining translation memory. Um, for people who may not be familiar with translation memories, it's the kind of translation pairs, like let's say "How are you" would be like "Cómo estás." That kind of translation pair you maintain after a job is done. Um, these are very high quality translations, and sometimes when let's say machine translation provides an output that is not of very high quality, you can have a person take a look at it, an expert, a translation expert, take a look at it and make edits to it. And then you save those high quality translation. And you, next time when the same input comes in, you use translation memory, pick up from the translation memory and fill out the translation rather than have it sent to another person or even send it to a machine to do translation. So these days, people are uh, customers, language service providers, various other agencies are building translation memories, and sometimes these translation memories are properties. And when somebody builds a translation memory, there is a lock-in involved in it. So uh, what we are trying to do is how can we promote the value of data, but at the same time help people maintain that IP as they reduce the barrier to translation and as they increase the efficiency of translation. And you'd also have seen that many translation service providers, machine translation service providers, are also enabling custom translation. One of the reasons for customization is the way you translate a financial document will be very different from the way you translate a legal document or a marketing document. So you want to build different types of machine translations um, to translate various domains. So before Amazon Translate uh, came in, uh, people had translation memories, and then people edited on top of translation memory matches. Then they built custom translation models for every language pair and every domain, and they had people make corrections over that. And this is expensive. This is expensive because there is like building custom translation models are expensive, and once you may build it, you have to maintain it because over time the domain changes, the way people speak changes, and the way you have to react means that you have to update those models, and those are expensive, and you need experts to do that updating. The solution that we brought in is Amazon Translate came up with a system called Active Custom Translation, where you can customize the translation output dynamically. So I'm going to go back and talk about what are the services we used, AWS services we used to build this solution. We used Amazon Translate, and I'm the product manager for Amazon Translate. We used another service called Amazon Augmented AI. Amazon Augmented AI, I'll go in deep about it, but it's a system that enables a human to verify any of the Amazon AI products output so that you can have a person help train the MT. Generally, when we say train the MT, the training that you do is becomes your IP. You don't share it with AWS. It is something that you build and you maintain and you protect. And then there is Amazon Lambda. Lambda is our tool that executes functions. And S3. S3 is a simple storage place. So if you want to store any data, S3 is the place where you save it. And S3 literally means simple storage service. So here I talk about why Amazon Translate is important. Amazon Translate is a neural machine translation. It provides highly accurate and contextual and fluent machine translation. And how the second part, the one that I'm talking about, dynamic customization, that's what we'll be diving deep in this presentation. And so finally, it's secure. So the updates, the translations that you do, it is highly secure. You can work on like PII, personally identifiable information, credit card information, health information. You can build services that you can build such secure services on top of Amazon Translate, which is it is eligible uh, to build very secure services using Amazon Translate. As of 2020, Intento, when they did their benchmarking of various machine translation service providers, they found that Amazon Translate as the number one machine translation service provider, and we hope to keep up that rank even this year. So now more than one reason to see why we have to go after Amazon, or why you have to build solutions on top of Amazon Translate. And today, Amazon Translate supports 71 languages and counting. So 71 languages is about 4,970 language pairs. We provide the lowest latency translation solution, and we are also available in 17 different regions, which means that if you have data residency, want to keep the data in a particular country, Amazon Translate is the enables you to do that and comply with the various regional and local norms and laws. And we also provide this translation at a document level. So if you have a string or if you have a whole archive of materials with one API, you can translate from one to another. And our standard product has uh, is trained on 11 different domains. And if one of the domains is not there, you can get your own data and customize the machine translation to suit your domain. And with Amazon Translate, today you only pay for what you use. So I was talking about this customization. I will be going in detail about the active custom translation. In there, you bring in your data and you don't translate a single sentence. You pay nothing. There is no cost to train. So in Amazon Translate, you only pay for those materials that you translate. There is absolutely no cost for building or maintaining different translation models. So now I'll go into the customization of translated output. Um, so let's follow the arrow from here. I hope my arrow shows up. Uh, when a material comes in, you can, let's assume you have translation memory. And translation memory matches, let's say, 50% of the material. The remaining 50 can either start blank, or you can use the translation memory as the training data to Amazon Translate and translate the unmatched materials using active custom translation. With active custom translation, you can translate "Cómo estás" as "How are you?" or "How do you do?" That is the power. So if you're translating from English to Spanish, you don't need to build 5 different models if you are going to translate in 5 different domains like finance, legal, marketing, HR, etc. You just keep 5 different data sets or parallel data and use them and use the same English to Spanish translation in Amazon Translate and tell them like, hey, use this parallel data to do the translation. And here, parallel data is the union of various translation memories that you want to bring in to customize data. You customize your output. So let's say you use 5 translation memories for a job. Parallel data would be a union of the 5 different translation memories. And then you get the translated output. Uh, Here, because the translation machine translated output used the input from parallel data, the number of the person who's reviewing the translation is going to see a more accurate translated output. The number of times that person has to get in to make changes is far less, and hence there you are saving a lot of time and increases the efficiency. And let's assume they see that there are some mistakes. You make changes to the translated output and you update your parallel data. And this virtuous cycle helps you, the customer, build an IP that only you can use. So let's assume there are 3 customers, and one is using the standard translation and doing a post edit on that. The other one is using active custom translation and is very rigorous in building an IP on the work that they are doing. And the other customer who's using active custom translation, but they are not updating the parallel data regularly. They update once a month or once every 2 months. Then the 3 different people who are using Amazon Translate will get 3 different output just because of the amount of effort you put in. This is one of the things I think is very revolutionary, where we are helping people to build their IP, keep their good work, and differentiate amongst themselves, even if they use the same empty output. Here now I'm going to get into our Amazon Augmented AI. Actually, given the time, I'm going to brush through it. Amazon Augmented AI is a system where you bring in a person to help improve or help critique an AI output and build intelligence into the AI output. For with Amazon Augmented AI, the the person you want to bring in, you can either use Mechanical Turk to get your workforce. This is the on-demand 24/7 workforce that you can use, or you can bring your own employees to help enhance the machine translation output. Or with you using Amazon Marketplace, you can bring in vendors to go and update the machine translation output. And this is a use case where a translation job comes in, Amazon Translate does the translation. You can review the translation and build an IP. That's exactly what augmented AI does. In this case, in my particular case, we are using Amazon Translate, but if you choose to use Amazon Comprehend or Amazon Transcribe or Amazon Poly or Amazon Textract, you can use Amazon A2I to bring human in the loop to help understand or help correct what the AI does. And whatever you do by bringing human in the loop is an IP that you build only for yourself, that you can help to differentiate and distinguish your um, solution. And in this case, we want to talk about the virtuous flywheel that you can build, which uh, using Amazon Translate and Amazon A2I. Let's say on day one, you have some materials and you want to take the training material and go to a place like India and you want to make it available in Hindi. You can machine translate all your materials to Hindi. That's be the first one. Second one, you can have that Hindi translation reviewed using Amazon A2I, and you collect all the corrections that are made to the Hindi translation as a parallel data. And when you have new materials, you use the parallel data to as input to customize the machine translation, so that the amount of human review that has to happen in the very next job is reduced, because Amazon Translate learned from your feedback in the previous job and provides a more customized output. This is another use case. This is the same use case, talks about how uh, the whole MTPE and how, what shall I say, the IP building happens. We can certainly talk about this slide in a Q&A session, but it's the same thing that I described shown in a flowchart. Um, and then one of the things that I want to show to give an example of how powerful this is in some of the internal testing that we did, and with a and with when we proved this with an existing customer, we are able to translate many of their documents. We use translation memory and active custom translation, and we charge for translation per number of edits that they did on the translated output. And when we did this for a large set of work, we found that the average cost for translating a page, which has about 3,000 characters, was about 19 cents. So that is pretty impressive, because the cost of translating a word in in a usual setting is about 20 to 25 cents. With this virtuous cycle, you are able to bring the cost of translating a page down to 19 cents. Uh, there are multiple use cases where you can use Amazon Translate. One is our case where you localize. Uh, let's say you Amazon, let's say you have a website and you want to go from one language to another, that is localization. But this IP that you build can also be used for enhancing communication. Like you and I are chatting, we can, let's say you and I are chatting about a particular domain like Star Wars or things like that. You can enable that translation to be of the chat communication to be customized. And likewise in text analytics, let's say you are trying to read a lot of financial filings. You can use the IP that you built to translate various filings done in various languages to your language more correctly. So with machine translation, you don't really you can do a lot more than just localization. And this is an example of how you localize content. This is an example of how you enable communication, and this is an example of how we perform text analytics. One of our reference customer is Deliveroo. They are using Amazon Translate to connect their customers, the restaurant owners, and the delivery personnel who need not share the same language. With Amazon Translate, they are able to enable communication between them and serve great food in UK. The other reference customer we have is Causality Link. They are an AI-powered research solutions provider in the financial sector. They use Amazon Translate to read news and other filings from various sources, and they enable decision makers with data and analytics. So this is our presentation here. I'll stop.
Yeah,
I'll,
sorry to
yeah,
cut in. We're actually at time.
yep, I'm
Um,
done. Yeah.
there are a few questions in the chat that maybe we can follow up on offline. But to close, do you want to maybe let people know how to get in touch with you if they do have follow-up questions?
Yes, let me share my email, and please write me. It's Srivaths at amazon.com. And I'll also try to, if you can paste your emails here, that is also be helpful for me to reply you using this chat.
Perfect. Yeah, and we can go ahead and keep this open for a few minutes for that. But otherwise, let's go ahead and end the session. Let people move on to the next one. Thank you so much. This was great. And thank you, everyone, for coming to attend.
Thank you. Cheers. And I'll be on this trying to reply all the questions. Cheers, Ray. Take care.